Wifey! Flores! Cherise! D-Live! What's up, mama? Tears! Indigo! Hello, my sisters. Aisha! What's up, mama? Hey, it's Quisha. Hello, lady. I'm going to give y'all a few minutes to come up in here. I love you too, mommy. And thank you. Me and Blade, we were determined to go the day of the verdict. We said it. If anything mattered, it was going to be the days of the verdict. Ty! I love you, Ty. I missed your voice today. I didn't get to hear you not one time today, I think. Deshaun! Hey, baby! Danny, what's up, Danny? I'm sorry, Deshaun, I haven't gotten back to you, sweetheart. I've been running around like a maniac since I got home. And you know I was out in the streets, so... Kelly's a dog head. You need to change that shit to, Kelly's guilty. Hi, baby. Yeah, they're all crying. Bendito. Yo, yada dada. Flores. Nisi Poo Poo. What's up, mama?
I still got my sniper skill. That's nice.
Well.
Really nice.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, lady. Go ahead, guys. Say hello to everybody. Well, I just wanted to do this. Jacqueline. Jacqueline. What's up, mamita? My sister Blade gave me an idea.
I'm dropping red.
She gave me an idea, guys. Here we go, y'all. We're going to celebrate, okay? On the count of 3. I want to see hashtags. We did it.
That's sad.
We did it. We did it. Yay! We see we did it. We went over the bridge and past patrol. Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Hey!
Come now to throw little stars. Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
We did it. We did it. Swipe for his little star and Tico's tree. That's Santa, Tico, Santa, and Tico. Hooray! Yay! Woo! Hooray! We did it.
We did it, guys. We did it. We did that shit. The prosecutors did that shit. We did it, guys. We did it. We did that shit. We did it. Ruby, Karen J, what's up, mama? Hey, what's up, guys? Ruby, I'm glad you're here to join us. I know it's like in the wee hours of the morning for you, lady. I love you.
Right here?
Well, guys, there's 17 us in the building. It came into Pacer that the jurors came, they reached the verdict. The jurors polled and excused with thanks to the court. And the following motion scheduled is set. Defendants' motions. They got motions to put in if they have any motions to put in by the defendant on November 1st of 2021,
Oh, no.
and the government is to respond November 22nd, 2021. So they got a couple of weeks to respond the defendant's motion, and if there is any reply, it says reply if any is due by December 6th of 2021. And sentencing for Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly is May 4th of 2022. Okay? And it is set for Judge Donnelly's courtroom for G North at 10 a.m. So he will be sentenced May 4th of 2022, guys. Okay? It's been set. And the defendants' lawyers, if they want to put in any motions, they have till November 21st. And the government has till the 22nd to reply. And if there is any other replies to those motions, they are to be due before December 6th, 2021.
I got a precision.
Chiqui! What's up, mama? Triple L, what's up, puppy? Yo, we got a guilty verdict. I am Queen. What's up, sister? All my sisters and my brothers are in the building. I'm missing some. I'm missing some. I'm missing some. Let's see. I'm missing some here.
Grab guns off the dead ones.
Some are missing. Oh, there goes D. Hey. What's up, D? What's up? Nicole, hello. West Coast Bellas. What's up? Take our Kelly. Audria, hi. Robert, Killer. What's up, puppy? Yes, guys, hi. There goes my brother, my other brother. Fat boy in the building. BBP, what's up, lady? How are you? Yes. Jade, hi, Jade. What's up, guys? What's up? Wow. For those who have just jumped into the building, Vanetta, hi, mama. Samara, hello. 100 devices. Hey, guys, I am so excited. I am excited. What's up, Samara? I think I did. Ty Boo Boo. What's up, Ty Boo Boo? Granny. We did it, Granny. Tasha, what's up, Tasha? Rocking with the truth. Hello, guys. We did it, y'all. We did it. I don't know if Blade's in the building. I don't know if she missed the song or not. But I think I'm going to play it one more time, guys. And we're going to hashtag it, okay? Hashtag we did it, y'all.
We did it. Yay! Alissima, we did it. We went over the bridge and past the troll. Yeah, we did it. Hooray! Right up the mountain to through little star home. Yeah, we did it. Swiper his little star and he goes tree. Let's cut that tickle that and we found him. Hooray! Yay! Woo! Hooray! We did it.
Hey! We did it, guys. We did that shit. We did it. Yes. Thank you for being a member, Triple L. What's up, Papi? Thank you. Matter of fact, guys, if you want to join the membership, it's only for $1.99 a month. You can get cute little perks and get to put some emojis. I got cute little emojis in there that you guys can throw up in the chat. I also will be coming with my book club only for members. I might throw it out there and just put it in my playlist. So you guys will get to see it in the playlist. But when I go live, I will go live only for members only. Okay? Yeah, I like the setting. I think the setting will be a little bit more intimate. And we won't have outside distractions like that. So if you can, guys, join now. It's only $1.99 a month. and you get little perks. And when I come out with little secret things or things, maybe I might just want to talk about myself, you know, and bare my soul to you guys, you know what I mean? And it'll be a only members only thing, you know what I'm saying? So we did that shit, guys. We did that shit. Give you guys a round of applause to you guys. You guys for fighting. Hey, Amos, what's up, Papi? Miss Karen J. Yes. Round of applause. This was for the girls. Aaliyah, may you rest in peace. Your story didn't come out, but your truth came out. And we needed that. And thank you for pointing the prosecutors and everyone who worked hard on this case in the right direction that they needed to be in. You did this, girl. You did this, baby girl. You did this. This was for you. Guys, put some hearts and candles in the chat for Aaliyah and all the survivors of surviving R. Kelly, as well as survivors and victims in life out there around the world.
Yeah, everybody
Let's
gets
put some hearts and some candles in the chat, please, for the girls. Purple hearts specifically, if you can. And I'm going to play. We're gonna have a little R. Kelly marathon about today. So I'm gonna play a couple little videos, and then we're gonna celebrate. We're gonna pop some bottles. I'm gonna take some requests. Anybody want to jump on the panel? Talk about it, express your feelings, say something to the girls. I will drop the link when the time is right. All right? Sorry about the noise in the background. You know my life, you know my story. And guys, don't forget, while you are in here right now, please do me a favor. Go hit that like button. Thank you. And don't forget, if you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, guys. Yes. And if you have any comments below, underneath the video in the comment section, please leave your comment.
Got him.
And don't forget, jump out the chat. Hit the like button, guys. Hit that like button. Thank you. And I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off. I want you guys to check out this defense attorney, and he's going to break down the legal issue that it was, the racketeering, and he's going to break it down very, very, very well as well, in simple terms as well. I love my sisters. I love you guys. You know, for those of you who have been through this fight, thank you so much for supporting Larry and supporting the families and the girls for being here. They are the reason why we are here. 2 years we have been going through ups and downs with emotions, people, changes, and it's time that all that ends and we all get together and stop fighting each other. And it's all for the greater good, you know. And these women need our support more than ever. There's still 2 more trials to go. 3 more actually. Next one is in Chicago, guys. In Chicago. And R. Kelly will be sentenced once again on May 4th, 2022 at 10 a.m.
The rest are all over there.
All right, I'm going to share my screen, guys.
Just stay there. They're going to have to come out to you.
Nice, bro. GG.
Please go subscribe to his channel. I'm gonna drop his channel in the link. Okay.
People suck sometimes, man.
His name is Jamal Kersey, and he's also a lawyer.
Trash dog.
And I saw his video, and I found it to be very, very useful. You know, like he really broke it down so that those people in the back who don't understand what happened to R. Kelly, I mean, I don't know how many other ways we can try to make you guys understand, but please, if you can, take notes. Take notes. Grab your pens, grab your paper, take notes, and pay attention to listen. Listen to what this man has to say.
4 dogs.
Because he's gonna break it down.
Well, that
He's
doesn't
gonna break
count
it down,
as-
guys.
that
I'm gonna go on mute and I'm gonna play the
that
video.
doesn't count as-
All right, there's some serious confusion as to the allegations and legal issues in this R. Kelly trial. So all right, there's some serious confusion as to the allegations and legal issues in this R. Kelly trial. So I'm going to break it down. My name is Jamal Kersey. I'm a criminal defense attorney in San Diego, California, and I'm going to analyze some of the factual and legal issues in the R. Kelly case. And so, you know, as we get into this, you are getting some exclusive analysis. Listen, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've represented people facing life in prison. I've represented people in murder cases, sex crimes, major cases, major issues. So you're getting some exclusive information here. I'm not just some reporter. I'm not a vlogger who's just offering some sort of opinion that doesn't hold weight. I do this. This is what I do every day. So before we dive into these issues, like this video, subscribe to my channel. If you get value from this video, which I'm sure you will, share it and leave me a comment on the analysis. I want to hear what you have to say. So the R. Kelly trial is coming to a close. The prosecution started their closing argument on Wednesday. They should finish Thursday, which is today. First, the prosecution goes, then the defense, and the prosecution, because they have the burden of proof, they get a chance to make a rebuttal argument. After the rebuttal, the judge gives their final jury instructions, and then the jury gets the case. So that's when the deliberation starts. Now, before I dive into these issues, I've got some caveats. So these are my caveats going into my discussion of these issues. I am a fan of R. Kelly's music. I'm a DJ. I'm a music nerd. I was 13 years old talking about, I don't see nothing wrong. Can't see my legs, but I'm doing the butterfly. In high school, we actually sang I Believe I Can Fly in our high school choir. Shout out to Thomas who did the lead on that. I was in the club when R. Kelly's music was popping. There was nothing like Stepping in the Name of Love, Drunk, Last Call, 1:30 or so a.m. Putting all that aside, listen, the reason why I'm saying this is because there's a lot of people in the comment section, even in my comment section, attacking me, saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. You are dumb. You're stupid, saying all kinds of reckless stuff, saying I'm evil for speaking on these situations. I'm like, yo, you don't know me. And you got to put some respect on my name. Again, I just dropped my credentials. I am a criminal defense attorney. This is what I do. I went to law school, passed the bar first time. So just be respectful. If you're going to have something to say, if you want to rip what I say apart, that's cool, but be respectful about it. Lastly, as an attorney, I'm looking at this without emotion. So even though I'm a fan, I'm looking at this without emotion. So that's where we differ. A lot of you are basing your opinion in this case and what should happen based on your love for R. Kelly or even your hate for R. Kelly. And both of those are problematic when it comes to analyzing a legal issue. So listen, I'm not doing this from the perspective of having emotions drive my opinion. All right. So those are the caveats. And now let's go to break this stuff down. One of the issues that I was very surprised about when looking at this case was the fact that we had charges of racketeering. Racketeering is basically organized criminal act or criminal activity in which the criminal act or activity is some sort of substantial business or way to earn illegal money, either regularly or briefly, but repeatedly. So there's generally a pattern. And you're going to have at least 2 instances of conduct which is going to constitute racketeering. the types of offenses you usually see associated with racketeering would be protection. Some mobsters come to your place of business and they say, hey, if you don't want your grocery store to all of a sudden burn down, you don't want your restaurant to get robbed, then you need to pay for protection. And that protection is basically a monthly fee that you're paying in order to receive the protection. It could be running numbers. So you have the illegal lotteries. That could be a racket. You can have money laundering. That could be a racket. Fraud, insurance fraud, credit card fraud, any type of fraud where you have a pattern and practice of committing fraud. That could be a racket. You could have white collar crime, such as insider trading. Another racket could be drug trafficking. You can also have human trafficking, including sex trafficking or labor trafficking. Those would be different types of racketeering. When you think of racketeering, you think of the Italian mob, Al Capone. That's the first things that come to mind. And so with them, you had as one of their rackets, bootlegging alcohol. And so that would be an example of an enterprise. You have a boss, and then you have the people below the boss, and then you have all the workers who are working in furtherance of this enterprise in order to make money illegally or do whatever the stated purpose of that criminal enterprise would be. So in this situation, versus everybody who'd be getting money, let's just take the bootlegging example. Everybody from the people manufacturing the alcohol to the people packaging it to the people distributing it, all these people involved would stand to gain from this criminal enterprise. But in this situation, in this R. Kelly case, there's really one man who stood to benefit from this, if you are following the allegations, and that would be R. Kelly. He's the one who is gratifying his own sexual desires. This isn't an enterprise that was geared towards all kinds of different people getting money. There's just one person involved. And so normally when you have sex crimes, let's say such as date rape, a guy takes a girl out, gets her drunk, either off alcohol or slips something into her drink, and then ultimately has sex with her without her consent. That would be date rape. That's a one-on-one situation. Or if we have sex or inappropriate sexual contact with a minor, that's a one-on-one type situation. You have an uncle who breaches his family trust having sex with his niece. He doesn't have co-conspirators. You don't have the parents in on this situation. In fact, the parents don't know what's going on. Eventually, there may be some sort of suspicion, but generally speaking, that person is working alone. And even in let's say a gang rape, you may have a bunch of parties involved, but you wouldn't necessarily call that an enterprise. You just have multiple people committing an offense. But in this situation, when we look at R. Kelly and the allegations that the prosecution has come up with, they're saying that R. Kelly did have an enterprise. R. Kelly had bodyguards. He had drivers, he had managers, he had runners, he had an entourage. R. Kelly was a man with a lot of money, a lot of power, influence, fame. I was looking up some statistics, and Billboard named him the most successful R&B artist in history. Now, that's a big title. There have been some amazing R&B singers over the years. So for him to have been named the most successful in history, this man is an anomaly, to say the least. At his career peak, he was worth $100 million. And so when we compare people, most people who are charged with sex crimes do not have the money, the resources, the people that R. Kelly had around him. And so that's where we'll dive into it a little more, but you can kind of see where these allegations in terms of a full enterprise would come from when you have this many people under your umbrella assisting you in doing what he was alleged to have done, compared to, again, the one-on-one situation. So the allegations are basically there was the systematic recruitment. So again, this is not just, and I hate to use the example because of the ugliness of it, but this is not an uncle taking advantage of his niece, whether that's inappropriate touching or actual sexual penetration. It's not that situation. Basically, the prosecution's allegations in this case is that there was a systematic recruitment of little girls and young women for illegal sexual activity. For example, you had the recruiting at the concerts. So again, this is another way in which we have a difference from the general public, in that he had his own concerts. And so to tell someone, hey, give her my number or ask for her number, and then we'll arrange for something later on. So you had people doing these recruiting efforts for him. They would then arrange for travel and arrange for lodging. So I'm going to put you on a plane, or I'm going to put you on a bus, and then I'm going to pay for your hotel. These type of things, they take a team, because he's in the business of being an artist, of making music, of producing music, writing songs, singing, touring, recording albums, all these different type of things, while the other members of the team are carrying out the duties and coordinating these arrangements. And so basically the other part of it is that he employed measures of isolation, so isolating them from their families and issuing threats to control them. So you talk about this to anybody, this is what'll happen to you, whatever the threats were. I don't know what the specific threats are. I just know that the threats were alleged. And then you can see, then it becomes more clear how you get to the enterprise label. Because I remember seeing the graphic of the octopus, and you have R. Kelly as the CEO and all these different people. And I was like, man, I'm not seeing how this is being considered some sort of enterprise. But again, as I dove deeper into it, I can then understand how you get to the enterprise label. Whether that's valid or not, you can at least see how you get there. So the other thing that stood out to me is, how is this case in federal court? Most crimes are prosecuted in state court. Murder, robbery, burglary, theft, sex crimes such as rape, statutory rape, sexual assault, etc. They're charged in state court. But there are times when cases are federal, such as any of the offenses that I just mentioned. If those take place on federal land, that's going to be a federal issue. Bank robberies are federal issues. But the other major issue is committing crimes that cross state lines. So if I have a couple bricks of cocaine in my trunk and an officer stops me, searches my vehicle, and finds that cocaine, then based on the amount of cocaine that I have, I'm not going to be able to say that's just for my personal use, especially if they find that I got a lot of money on me, that I have, maybe pay and owed sheets, then they're going to say, hey, I'm in possession of this cocaine for the purpose of sale. Or they're going to charge me with transportation of cocaine for the purpose of sale or distribution. And that would be a state offense here in the state of California. However, if I cross the line to get to Arizona and they can prove that I was in California and then I made it to Arizona with the same elements or the same evidence, that's now a federal case. Why? Because I'm engaged in an act which is considered to be an activity affecting interstate commerce. And so now that what would normally be a state offense has now become a federal offense.
There
And
goes
so
those
again,
elements.
when you have sexual crimes, these are generally state cases, but R. Kelly is alleged to have taken women and girls across state lines, committing kidnapping, sex crimes, and etc. And that's what makes this a federal issue. So one of the other issues is child pornography. When you persuade or force a minor to engage in sexual activity for the purpose of shooting videos or pictures, then that's what child porn is. And again, that is usually a state case. I was an intern for the DA's office while I was in law school. I worked in the family protection unit, and then also I did work in the sex crimes unit. So when we had people who were in possession of child pornography, that was prosecuted in the state. So it'd be the people of the state of California against the defendant in that situation, with the district attorney filing those charges. But again, when you are alleged to have crossed state lines doing these things, that's where you're going to have it being a federal case. Kidnapping as well, confining somebody against their will, that's usually a state case. But if you're crossing federal lines while doing so, again, you're in an activity that affects interstate commerce, then that's going to make it federal. One of the other charges, or at least a couple of the other charges, had to do with violation of Chicago sexual abuse law. And so again, these would normally be prosecuted in the state of Illinois, but because there was the allegation that he had crossed state lines in order to commit these offenses, or for the purpose of committing these offenses, that's what made it federal. And so I wanted to actually look at the sexual abuse law because that came up in the indictment. On justice.gov, there was a copy of an indictment from 2019. I believe they ended up actually filing another information or another document with extra charges, but I was looking around for that document, couldn't find it. But the one that I was looking at laid forth these charges and what the basis for the enterprise allegation was and these racketeering charges. We got to the one involving the Chicago aggravated sexual abuse law. And this is what it says. Person commits aggravated criminal sexual abuse if that person commits an act of sexual sexual penetration or sexual conduct with a victim who is at least 13 years of age but under 17 years of age, and the person is at least 5 years older than the victim. So in this situation, if the girls in this situation were between 13 and 16 years old, and then let's just say at the high end at 16, the man would have to be 5 years older. So at least 21 or older, say 21, 22 or older, then that's going to be aggravated criminal sexual abuse. So again, a man, let's say 22 and up, having sex with a 16-year-old is going to be a violation of this law, which is aggravated criminal sexual abuse. Again, this is Illinois law. And one of the interesting things when you're looking at this statute is that there is no knowledge element, at least from what I see. Now, there may be another section that says the person has to knowingly or have knowledge. But in terms of my reading of this statute, I didn't see anything regarding a knowledge element, which means that it doesn't matter whether you knew or not. Let's say the statute said a person commits aggravated criminal sexual abuse if that person commits an act of sexual penetration or sexual conduct with a victim who the person knows to be 13 years of age but under 17 years of age. So again, that person knows, has knowledge that the person is underage, then that gives a person a bit of an out. So they can say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. And so, or they lied to me and said that they were this age. So if there's no knowledge element, then what that would mean is that the legislators basically say, hey, we don't care whether you're saying you didn't know, you should have known. Right. So you should have took it upon yourself to confirm or verify that that person was of legal age before you engaged in sexual conduct with them. Because again, that and the reason why it would be written in that way is that the protection of our youth is so important that we're not going to give you an out by saying that you didn't know. You are the adult in the situation. It's your duty to ensure that the person is of age. And so that's the accountability aspect of this law. And again, if you're familiar with Illinois law and can correct me, I'm open to that, but I'm just looking at this particular code section and it doesn't mention anything about knowledge being an element. So when we look at the testimony and we think about the very first witness, she had testified that in 2010, R. Kelly invited her to his mansion. And at the time in 2010, she was 16 years old. She was a virgin and she was actually a member of Kelly's fan club. And she said that, again, he invited her to the mansion. He immediately told her to take off her clothes. She testified that R. Kelly asked her to tell everyone she was 19 and act like she was 21. And she said that he wanted to train her sexually and ordered her to call him daddy. And so when you look at these facts, this would be a violation of the Illinois statute if what she is saying is true. In that she was 16 years old. In 2010, R. Kelly was certainly over 22 years of age. So he was at least 5 years older than her. She's under 17 years old. She said that he had sex with her. And so in that situation, we would technically have a violation and there would be support for that charge in that he was telling her to say that she was 19 when she wasn't. Say you're 19 and act like you're 21. Those are going to be the type of things that are essentially adding fuel to that fire in terms of that particular charge. And then in terms of wanting to train her or groom her sexually and ordered her to call him daddy, that just goes along the lines with some of the other testimony in terms of these rules that he had. And so she went on to say that they saw each other for another 6 months and Kelly got more and more controlling and got violent with her when she broke the rules. And again, we had other allegations from other alleged victims that he had this set of rules and there would be consequences for breaking these rules. And she said one time he got so angry that he slapped me and choked me until I passed out. And after that, he then spit on her face and forced her to have oral sex. And she said she had kept this blue t-shirt from that incident that had his DNA evidence. And from what I understand, that DNA evidence was analyzed and proved to be a match to R. Kelly. I don't have that in my notes here, but I think I remember hearing that. And so that's just one of the examples in terms of how he could have violated this Illinois law related to aggravated sexual abuse. And so I've seen in comments from my prior videos and on other videos and other news sources that people are saying that these are grown women, not children. Well, the issue is that you have the women testifying today, and they may now be in their 30s or however old they were, but they're talking about incidents that took place when they were younger, when they were minors, when they were children. And so, example, again, with Joanna Pace, she was saying that she was 16. She was 16 when she met him. So we're not talking about her as today as an adult. We're talking about how old she was when this activity was going on. All right. And so the other part to that is, okay, well, isn't there a statute of limitations? A statute of limitations is basically a deadline to file, whether that's civil or criminal. You have a certain amount of time that a complaint needs to be filed. And so taking California law, for example, where I practice, the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor, the type of charge where a person can do up to a year in county jail, misdemeanor is 1 year. So the prosecutor has a year to file charges in a misdemeanor case. Generally speaking, felonies are 3 years. So the statute of limitations on felonies is 3 years. There are some offenses that don't have a statute of limitations. For example, murder doesn't have a statute of limitations. So back in 2015, I had a cold case murder. So this was a murder that took place in 2005. And it wasn't until 2015 that my client was arrested and charged, and we went to trial in 2015. So this was 10 years later. And in that situation, we didn't have any sort of statute of limitations argument because there is no statute of limitations on murder. So I looked at Illinois law to find out. When you look at Illinois law, it says that when the victim is under 18 years of age at the time of the offense, a prosecution for criminal sexual assault, aggravated criminal sexual assault, predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, aggravated criminal sexual abuse, or felony criminal sexual abuse may be commenced at any time, which means there is no statute of limitations on this offense. So again, when you have a lady coming into trial 10, 20, 30 years later after this alleged abuse took place, this lets you know, hey, there's no statute of limitations on this. We're going to allow that to happen. And so you may ask, why would that be the case? And when you have these type of cases, a lot of times there may be delayed reporting. So the person waits 5, 10, 15 years to finally speak out of something that happened in their past. And experts often testify that there's reasons for this. Sometimes the person feels ashamed. Well, oftentimes they feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed about what happened. They may sometimes feel like they did something wrong when they actually didn't. If the person was a family member or someone they love, they don't want to see something happen to that family member. They don't want to deal with the aftermath of having to confront and face that accuser. There's all kinds of people suppressing trauma. There's all kinds of reasons why somebody won't just come out and say what happened. And I think that is even more exaggerated when you're dealing with somebody in extreme position of power and fame and fortune, like a guy like R. Kelly. And so those things are exaggerated. And so that's why you would have a situation where someone would wait so long. One of the other counts is forced labor, and that's amongst it looks like 22 federal counts. I'm just pulling this from an article that I read, 22 federal counts, including human trafficking, racketeering, child porn, kidnapping, and forced labor. So that's how we get to where we're at with these charges. And again, I haven't heard or really seen the testimony, to be honest with you. Again, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I'm in the trenches. I have my own cases. I've got a attempted murder case that I'm defending right now and all kinds of stuff. So my time is limited in terms of what I can actually look into. But that gives you basically an understanding of what these charges are and why they've been charged. Well, that's all we have time for. So make sure if you got some value out of this, you hit the like button, you subscribe to the channel, share the video, and leave me a comment below. I want to know what you thought about the video. So as always, I want to thank you so much for watching. Until next time, peace.
Dub. Watch us not get a dub. Watch us not get a dub. Put a platinum in my mouth.
I just put his channel in the chat, guys. You can go follow him. Please subscribe to his channel, Jamal. Jamal. What was his name again?
I told you she was gonna
Pardon
come
me.
here.
Jamal Kersey. That's his channel, Jamal Kersey. And he's a defense attorney. Okay. He gave you great information there. And he broke it down in a really simple term, I guess, where you guys can actually understand it. I found this video and I was like, God damn, he broke it down pretty simple. I hope these people can understand what it is. Because I see it's true. A lot of people are still confused as to what is the RICO and why R. Kelly got charged. You know? So, all right. Now I'm going to share with you guys some BNC news from our people, BNC. That's our channel. Those are our friends. Those are our friends over there. So they were there at the trial in front of the courts, and I got a chance to speak somewhat. And I believe this is the video, so we're going to watch it. Check it out.
Prosecution did a good job of showing that these people all were in on this, that they were aiding and abetting the singer because they were told to also follow these rules that were so strict that if they didn't, their pay would be docked. So in a way, the prosecution tried to say that these assistants were, not that they were groomed themselves, but they were part of this criminal enterprise that ran for decades. We heard from 45 witnesses that the prosecution called, including 11 accusers, 6 who were underage at the time that R. Kelly met them. Many of them testified that R. Kelly knowingly gave them an STD, but did not disclose that to them during their time of intimate sexual intercourse, and that he also refused to wear a condom many times, that he also videotaped them without them knowing or against their will. We heard a lot of abuse that they succumb to at the hands of the singer, things like being tied up or not fed for days, or being locked up in rooms if they did not follow certain rules and protocols that he liked. I know I sat in court for about a week, and we listened to conversations that allegedly he had with several of the survivors, saying that if they didn't behave a certain way, act always excited to see him, call him daddy, he would punish them. So today was a day of vindication for a lot of the people, a lot of the survivors. Some of the people that testified, though, here, we do have to make it clear that they were reluctant to testify, that despite everything that they went through, they had a soft spot and still have a soft spot for the man. But it's because prosecution says years of grooming, and that's what that conditioning does to you. So even though they were reluctant to testify, they got justice in a way, but there's so many other survivors that have come forward and were not listened to for many years. And I know we spoke to several family members, that we would watch them come out of the courthouse and talk to them about why some of their family members did not want, or their sons or daughters that did not want to speak about the abuse they went through, and it's because of victim shaming. And one of the ladies that we interviewed, BNC interviewed, Kenyette Barnes, who founded the Mute R. Kelly movement, say it's because of people really calling these victims the fast ones, or the ones that initiated the contact, but they never questioned R. Kelly. Everyone was getting blamed except the singer. But today, that day has come to an end. He has been found guilty on many of the charges, and we are waiting to find out how many years he will face in prison after evading these charges for about 3 decades.
Yeah, no, we are expecting for him to be decades behind bars. And Astrid, you've been covering this for weeks now. Like you mentioned, 45 prosecution witnesses. What are some key moments that stood out to you when covering this trial?
Well, it was really interesting to see as a mother and, of course, as a female, listening to the women take the stand. Some of them, like I mentioned, really reluctant to testify against him. And even after they contracted an STD from him, still wanting to engage in a relationship, feeling that they could change him, feeling loved by him if he treated them nice or flew them out. And it's also really sad to know that. That they felt like this was love, that they felt that this man cared about them. So I think it also goes to show from speaking to experts how much help these women are going to need, how much support they need to receive in order to come out of this on the other side and not feel like this was something normal. And it was also interesting to hear some of the young girls too, that from the first moment that R. Kelly tried something on them, they knew right away that something was wrong and refused to work with him. And they had, that know it all, or that gut feeling saying, hey, I don't care if you're promising me fame and fortune or a record deal, something is off here. But something also that was really off-putting to me as an adult, and I mentioned like as a mother and a woman, is how some of these assistants that worked for Kelly for years, 16 years, can just excuse his behavior. And they were booking flights for these young women. So if you're booking a flight, you need that birth date information. And they also checked into music studios where he required them to show ID and sign an NDA. So many people knew that R. Kelly liked to surround himself with young women, especially underage women and underage boys, but they never said anything. They stayed working for them and they made excuses for his behavior. So and obviously R. Kelly is the one that's guilty of it all from the prosecution and the case that they put on. But to see people make so many excuses and still continue working for the man is something that was really shocking to me as someone, as a female, as a mother sitting there in the courtroom, and as a journalist, that these red flags were raised and no one really did much about it.
If you suffer from poor vision or impaired vision,
I want to bring in Jim Gerogatis, and I hope I said your name correctly. I apologize if I did not. He is a reporter, music critic, who has been following, he's in Chicago, he's been following R. Kelly's career, and certainly has been following this trial and this whole situation involving this disgraced singer. Thank you for talking to us. I just want to get your reaction to this verdict. R. Kelly, Robert Sylvester Kelly, found guilty on all counts. Certainly, this has to be creating a big buzz there in Chicago.
It is. I went back to the first young victim I reported, a 15-year-old who claimed Kelly had sexual contact with her in 1991. She tried to get the Illinois State's Attorney to press criminal charges in 1996. They ignored her. And she told me I was a young black girl who cared. With this verdict, we know that the jury cared. and listened and believed the victims. And, in Chicago here, the fact that this went on for 30 years and how many dozens and dozens of women were victimized in that time. Why? Because of fame, because of money. It's a tragedy that's going to stain this city for a very long time.
I certainly, when you talk about these victims of R. Kelly and sitting throughout this trial here in Brooklyn, certainly some of these women did not come from family of means. And so it's their word up against this megastar, certainly in a city where he is adored and celebrated constantly. But as you said a moment ago, this verdict sends a clear message. In fact, Jacqueline Kasula said that your voices were heard and justice was finally served. It's sad, though, that it took almost 30 years to put this man in prison for all of these egregious acts against so many young people, and their lives in some cases are destroyed forever because of the trauma involved.
Well, I think, first of all, BNC has been doing by far best in this trial, and race is central to this. If it was one white girl from the suburbs, so many of the women I've interviewed, 48 over 21 years of reporting on this story, have said the same thing. One white girl in the suburbs, and this would have been a different story. But these were women of color, and this is an historic verdict above and beyond the fact that no musician in the history of popular music has been found guilty of charges this broad, spanning 30 years. Above and beyond that, this is the first Me Too verdict where the victims were all people of color. And I think that says something. The fact that it took 30 years is a tragedy, but let's hope we're moving in a different direction.
The question I keep asking myself, and even as I was sitting through the trial, is I go back to 2008 when R. Kelly was acquitted in that case of child pornography and video and all of that was included. And it was crystal clear. And I get the sense that after 2008, R. Kelly believed he was Teflon, that he could not be stopped, that no one could stop him from doing what he was doing, and that acquittal certainly only bolstered, because it seemed as if his behavior worsened after that case. You would think some would just might consider stopping and doing what they're doing, but this was a man that his behavior worsened, and I think it speaks to just how arrogant he was, because he did have so much money and so much power.
Oh, absolutely. There's no two ways about it. He got more blatant in his victimization of people. He thought he was untouchable. He thought his money could buy him out of anything. And I think part of the sad fact of the reason we got justice now is he no longer has the money for the sort of attorneys he had in 2008. But let's not forget, he faces life in prison on these charges, this conviction. But there is a second federal case in the Northern District of Illinois. And at the heart of that is how the 2008 trial was rigged through bribery, through witness intimidation, and I will add, as a journalist, through the incredibly biased toward the defense rulings of a judge, a white judge who didn't see the black victims, just didn't see them, saw his fame and money instead.
All right, Jim, thank you for talking to us. Certainly making some incredible points there, in that just so many young black girls and even some black boys being ignored, mainly in part because of the color of their skin. But today was a major victory for all of those victims of R. Kelly. And so, Jim, we thank you for your insight, and we'll certainly touch back with you, because you're right. What's next for R. Kelly is in the Northern District, where he is also facing federal charges as well. So thank you.
Yo, y'all got me rolling. This chat is something else. I love you guys. I'm over here listening to the video, watching the chat, and y'all got me going. I got tears in my eyes, guys.
showed him the platinum.
Between 100 Take and Rockin' and Tears and Blade and Wifey and Yada, I cannot with y'all. Y'all only pow-pows. And Mr. Fat Boy keeps throwing it. Yo, I'm dying. Yo, y'all got me. Yo, I gotta go to the ladies' room. Let me flip my next clip for y'all. Yes, Larry, I miss you, Larry. I wish you were here, bro, for real. Oh my God, we would have a crazy panel right now. Lord have mercy. Yes. Oh. I'm on one of these videos, guys. I don't even know which one it is. Let me go on mute.
There is a lot to the story and how R. Kelly got to this point. Now, one of the significant milestones included the launch of the Mute R. Kelly movement. BNC's Astrid Martinez spoke with the movement's co-founder, Tisha Barnes, in the wake of his trial. Take a look.
Accuser after accuser after accuser took the stand against disgraced R&B singer R. Kelly in a Brooklyn federal courtroom for nearly a month. The jury heard from 45 witnesses, including a handful of the singer's former living girlfriends and former employees. Kelly faces racketeering and sex trafficking charges, accusations Kelly has always denied.
We're talking sexual violence, rape. Interstate sex trafficking. I mean, these are charges that if any other person, if Joe Kelly had done this and had this mountain of charges against him, trust me, he would have no allies. And I think that the charges are fair. They are egregious. They're very egregious, but they're severe for a reason, because it reflects the severity and the pathology of his behavior for so long.
The testimony during the trial was meant to shock us. Those fighting to expose R. Kelly's alleged criminal enterprise say some of the revelations should not be surprising. Activist and advocate for survivors of human trafficking and sexual violence, Kenyette Tisha Barnes, co-founded the movement Mute R. Kelly to boycott the singer back in 2017.
I mean, R. Kelly's behavior was known for 3 decades. I lived in the northeastern Ohio area. I'm familiar with R. Kelly's behavior even before Aaliyah. So we knew the rumors were there and people just ignored them. And it just kept happening over and over and over again.
For nearly 20 years, allegations have circulated the entertainment industry of R. Kelly's sexual assault against minors and his complicit staff. Yet even after the surviving R. Kelly documentary in 2019, many people looked away, blaming everyone but Kelly.
We blame the girls. We create narratives of sexual precociousness. Well, she was fast, and why was she wearing those clothes? Well, why was she in this grown man's face? Well, the question should be, why are adults sexualizing children? Children lie about their ages. Children try to perform adult lives. That's what they do. This is why they have guardians. This is why they have supervision, because their brains are not developed. So they see this adult world, they're on the precipice of this adult world, and they want it. But because they want it, it doesn't mean that we can't protect them.
And R. Kelly has never acknowledged breaking the law when it comes to women or underage girls in general. Kelly's defense team has also maintained that position during his trial, yet the prosecution has focused on both women and men who described years of alleged abuse, manipulation, and deceit.
Just to kind of give you a sense of what's going on here, we have a team of correspondents on the ground, and then we have our justice correspondent, Candace Kelly, is inside the courtroom, and we also have another one of our BNC members inside the courtroom as well. So I'm just getting word that R. Kelly has been found guilty of racketeering. That is one of the charges he was facing, sex trafficking as part of the Mann Act, but that racketeering was also a significant charge. And with that racketeering, there were 14 underlying acts. And in order for him, R. Kelly, to be found guilty of racketeering, the jury had to determine that he was in violation of only 2 of those 14 acts, only 2 of those 14 acts. And it would appear as if they've done that. R. Kelly, we can now report, has been found guilty of racketeering. Again, this reading of the verdict is going to take some time because there are not just 2 charges, but so many underlying acts involved. And the jury has to answer to the judge how they found on each of those underlying acts. But the headline right now at 3:15 is that R. Kelly guilty so far of racketeering, which could put him in prison for a significant amount of time. We're talking decades. One of R. Kelly's relatives, in fact, his godson, and you heard it in his own words, almost alluding to this sort of vast conspiracy. They're trying to destroy his name. When you look him up online, all kinds of negative things pop up. But one would argue it's all happened because of R. Kelly's own actions and what he did for some 30 years, sexually abusing both boys and girls. The majority of them, in fact, all of them, young and black, and certainly all of them that testified here. I want to bring in Kenyette Barnes, who is one of the co-founders of the Mute R. Kelly movement. Kenyette, we had a conversation about a week ago with Carrie Kelly, who is R. Kelly's brother. What was remarkable about that conversation was just 2 years ago, Carrie Kelly said his brother had a problem. Carrie Kelly said his brother would have him go out and recruit young girls at his concerts, and that his brother needed help. Then more recently he said, well, no, there's this conspiracy to destroy my brother. It's clear. It's unbelievable what I'm seeing and hearing in court. Just your reaction, because and because he's not the only one who's saying these things. There are many people who believe that R. Kelly is somehow a victim of the so-called system.
Right. Wow. Well, if you go on YouTube, there are videos that I allegedly got a free Tesla because they were playing R. Kelly's music. So, I have to be really careful when I hear this, and I take this with a grain of salt. However, it does have real world consequences. There was no mass conspiracy against R. Kelly. No one conspired with Sony Records to keep whatever money that Mr. Brister alleges. I remember a professor of mine at George Washington University introduced us the concept of confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance. And basically, when you think about what cognitive dissonance is, it literally is a way to not feel the psychological pain that the truth will cause. And the truth in this case is that his godfather is a sexual predator. And that's more difficult to accept than there must be some grand conspiracy against him. So my thoughts when I hear this is that this is just cognitive dissonance gone amok on steroids. And unfortunately, Mr. Brister believes, but the United States government saw differently, and then look at the evidence why R. Kelly was found guilty.
And you can hear R. Kelly playing. What would who you think just don't get it? Like you said, maybe
Hello? Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I lost my internet service. That shit just said doodle doodle. Unless they're reporting me or something. Isn't that always an excuse when somebody's internet goes out? They're reporting me. They're reporting me. They don't like me right now. They're mad at me. They hate my guts. They hate my guts. They hate me.
Yo, they push
Why
back.
do they hate me? Huh? We're going to play that again just for you. Okay.
One of R. Kelly's relatives, in fact, his godson, and you heard it in his own words, almost alluding to this sort of vast conspiracy that trying to destroy
Godson,
his name when you
a.k.a.
look him up
Daddy
online, all
Lolo.
kinds of negative things pop up. But one would argue it's all happened because of R. Kelly's own actions and what he did for some 30 years, sexually abusing both boys and girls, the majority of them, in fact, all of them, young and black, and certainly all of them that testified here. I want to bring in Kenyette Barnes, who is one of the co-founders of the Mute R. Kelly movement. Kenyette, we had a conversation about a week ago with Carrie Kelly, who is R. Kelly's brother. What was remarkable about that conversation was just 2 years ago, Carrie Kelly said his brother had a problem. Carrie Kelly said his brother would have him go out and recruit young girls at his concerts and that his brother needed help. Then more recently he said, well, no, there's this conspiracy to destroy my brother. It's clear. It's unbelievable what I'm seeing and hearing in court. Just your reaction, because and because he's not the only one who's saying these things. There are many people who believe that R. Kelly is somehow a victim of the so-called system.
Right. Wow. Well, if you go on YouTube, there are videos that I allegedly got a free Tesla because they were playing R. Kelly's music. So, I have to be really careful when I hear this, and I take this with a grain of salt. However, it does have real world consequences. There was no mass conspiracy against R. Kelly. No one conspired with Sony Records to keep whatever money that Mr. Brister alleges. I remember a professor of mine at George Washington University introduced us the concept of confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance. And basically, when you think about what cognitive dissonance is, it literally is a way to not feel the psychological pain that the truth will cause. And the truth in this case is that his godfather is a sexual predator. And that's more difficult to accept than there must be some grand conspiracy against him. So my thoughts when I hear this is that this is just cognitive dissonance gone amok on steroids. And unfortunately, Mr. Brister is going to believe what he believes, but the United States government saw differently, and they looked at the evidence. And this is why R. Kelly was found guilty.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Did Kenetta just call out Daddy Lolo? Did she just say Mr. Brister? No. There you have it. Strong women ready to fight all day long. That's what it is. Because R. Kelly is a schmuck.
I'm driving around.
And he's going to do like 140 years because he got charged on all counts. You hear me? All counts. Okay? It was a total of 9 counts, 14 charges.
Where you going, Savage?
Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. Let me go on mute. Hold on. Block that shit, yo. Report it and block it. Sorry, guys, that was my mom.
Yeah, payback, bitch.
Yeah,
Payback.
so let's continue.
In the background, you can hear R. Kelly playing right now. His supporters are here. What would you say to them?
Yes.
Those people who you think just don't get it. Like you said, maybe some cognitive dissonance there. But for those people who just really don't want to believe, they don't understand what's going on. What's the message you have to those firm supporters of R. Kelly?
Right. Well, the one thing I want to say is the theory that there's a lot of streaming going on is being proved right now, that the supporters are doing the actual streaming. I digress from that on the streaming platforms. But what I would say to the supporters is that while you're out there playing this music and standing on the line for him, you are supporting a culture of sexual violence in the Black community. So if you're okay with that, go for it. But understand that the community as a whole is done with it. We're done with it. The United States government has spoken. R. Kelly is convicted. He is a sexual predator. And if they choose not to believe it, well, you know, there are still people who believe in the Easter Bunny. So, you know, you can't get rid of his mind. But the truth has been stated, and R. Kelly is a sexual predator, whether they choose to believe it or not.
Yes.
You know, Kenyatta, I know you would rather keep the focus on the movement.
Where's the rabbit hole?
I would imagine that for you personally, that you've been subjected to a lot of criticism and threats, because I spoke to a young lady who was one of two protesters here who wanted a conviction, and she says that she was just abused and used and just they destroyed her almost on Facebook and other platforms, all because she wanted to see a guilty verdict. So I'm sure that, and I think you alluded to it when you first started talking, that you take a stand against this sort of a massive figure who has a lot of celebrity and a lot of people adore him and celebrate him, and you take this stand. You're in the minority, and you pay a price, and the stand you're taking obviously takes a lot of courage. Can you talk to us just about what you had to endure over these recent years in taking this stand and trying to mute this man and his music?
Sustained vicious attacks on my character, on my motivation, on my history as a survivor, just, you know, insane attacks. I've been doxxed. I've had my address placed on a public forum. I've received mail from people I do not know with R. Kelly, you know, CDs in it. And, you know, I can't make a post online without someone coming under my post and, you know, just leveling horrible vitriol against me. I do travel with detail now. When I do travel, I'm very careful of where I'm going because the threats are real. I mean, at this point, a lot of it has remained on social media and mostly, you know, verbal attacks and abuse, but nothing will stop someone from physically harming me or my children simply because they don't like my campaign. So it is a constant fear. I travel to Chicago often. Whenever I do, I am always mindful that, you know, someone who recognizes me can be friend or foe. And how do I respond to that? So to the young lady that was attacked by the supporters, and I'm going to be honest, these are not activists. These are not supporters. These are terrorists. These are thugs. These are individuals who are here primarily because we have a pathological disdain for Black girls.
They're talking about us,
when they
guys.
show up as survivors of sexual violence of a powerful Black man. And that is what I believe is the linchpin of all of that vitriol. Yes.
Kenyette Barnes, I want to thank you. We got to go here, get to the other side of the break here, but thank you for all that you've done and will continue to do. Kenyette Barnes, one of the co-founders of the Mute R. Kelly movement. You heard her. She's been threatened, but her work is just beginning. We're watching BNC. But let's go to Stephanie. She has him now with more on his reaction to today's verdict.
Good afternoon, Dre. I'm right here with D'Angelo Brister, R. Kelly's godson. You came in from Chicago in August for this trial, right?
Yes, that's correct. I came in August 18th when the trial first started.
Right. Mr. Brister, explain to our viewers what you're feeling right now.
Very shocked and surprised that the government has came about with these charges, and I'm very shocked that about these accusers' stories being brought out to the light, and they finding him guilty of it off of he say, she say, when there's a whole lot of holes in each and every last one of their stories.
Where were you when you heard the verdict?
I was inside the courtroom.
And what was the first thing that came to your mind?
You really want to know? This is some BS. It's some BS.
So talk to us. You're not blood related to Robert Kelly. He is your godfather. What's the relationship? It's a friendship relationship with your mother.
Yes, him and my mother grew up together.
Who else is here? Family, friends? Who else came in from Chicago? Where R. Kelly is from, where he grew up?
A few of his brothers. His sister came in as well today.
We see fans and supporters outside the courthouse, not just today, but in the days leading up to today. Have you interacted with anybody who isn't personally related to R. Kelly and to the extended family, so to speak, but has something to say in terms of support for him?
Yes, the fans have been here from the beginning supporting him. And the fans are what keeps him going. They give him strength, and it's like they give him that energy, that boost of energy, that hope. Pretty much, it really comes down to really his fans that's like his family.
Here at BNC, we stand for the truth. And you said, basically, I'm paraphrasing you, this isn't true, he didn't do this. What do you have to say to the victims, to people related to the victims, to people who were R. Kelly fans and now say he is a guilty man? Why are you saying this isn't true if this is what justice has served, so to speak? Tell us your side.
Because I believe that it was all a plan from the beginning. The government knew what they was going to do, and Sony knew what they was going to do, and Sony wanted to push the narrative out to the media, to the world about him doing this, so that they can keep his $1 billion that they owed him when he asked for it. And then when he went to go ask for his $1 billion, when he went to go ask for his $1 billion from the industry, then all of a sudden all these allegations came about, and then they started investing into things to destroy his name. If you Google search his name, you see all these bad things.
Let me ask you, did you watch Surviving R. Kelly, the document? Have you seen it? I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes, I saw it.
Do you know personally any of the victims that appeared there, any of the people who had relationships with him that have spoke out and said, look, this is what happened? Do you know them personally? Can you tell us anything different from what these accounts, the picture these accounts paint?
I know a few of them I don't. Heck, a few of them he don't even know. Some of them just came out and just said they knew him, and he didn't even know them.
When's the last time you spoke to Robert Kelly, your godfather?
It was before they transferred him to New York, which was in June 22nd.
And what did he say to you, if you could share with us? What was his sentiment before this verdict while behind bars without bond?
Nothing really, just speaking on general life instructions. Nothing really to talk about the case, really.
What's next for you, for the family, for R. Kelly's friends? Where do you go from here?
We go for an appeal. And we're going to go to the next higher courts and try to seek justice that way. And we notice things like this have been overturned before, like in the Dr. Bill Cosby case. So I'm still very high up about that.
Mr. Brister, I can appreciate this is a difficult day for you. Thank you for speaking to our viewers. Thank you for helping us bring all sides of this story to our viewers. We appreciate your time. Anything else you want to leave us with?
I'm going to stay prayerful to the fans out there. Stay prayerful, stay believing, because this is not over. This is the fat lady haven't sung yet.
D'Angelo Brister, thank you. R. Kelly's godson. I'm going to take you on just a little walk. Right behind me is the courthouse. We'll do a quick pan. That is, Leon, if our photographer is going to do a pan for you here. This is the media row. And this is a park. That's where I found D'Angelo Brister, R. Kelly's godson. And that's where you will find fans. We're going to kind of flip around a little bit and kind of show you these park benches. These are R. Kelly supporters. Some fans that I spoke to, they got on airplanes. They've been here in Brooklyn, New York every single day as this highly watched trial has continued. And they have an emotional stake in this. We've seen a lot of tears leading up to today, a lot of emotions outside the courthouse. And we are here bringing you that up-to-date information, trying to capture every side of this story. I'm Stephanie Bertini, live in Brooklyn, New York. Back to you in the studio.
Yo, y'all got me crying. Did you see Sylvia and Janet and everybody else?
You gotta pick up that gun.
Yo, I cannot. Daddy Lola was there like, he looked like is the
on top.
This is the first time I'm seeing the video. Man, they thought he looked like he took a crap in his pants. They thought he was scared.
Yep, there's one downstairs too.
OMG. Oh, I got more for you guys. Hold on.
Yo, I got a fucking candle. I don't give a shit. I didn't get a donut.
Oh, man, you and my husband in the background.
I didn't get a donut.
I'm trying to look for the video where I was in Puñeta. I can't find it. What happened to it? Hold on, guys.
Oh, man.
Yeah. There you go. I'm playing this one right now.
My name is Keith Bitchu, and I'm the Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in New York. Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to quickly thank Acting United States Attorney for EDNY, Jacqueline Kasulis, and her amazing team of prosecutors. Today's verdict brings an end to Robert Kelly's decade-long reign of terror over many vulnerable girls, boys, and young women. With this verdict, it is my sincere hope that it will also begin the healing process for these brave survivors. Today's decision demonstrates that our system of justice knows no boundaries and will hold criminals accountable, regardless of their fame or fortune. Mr. Kelly once said, "I'm no angel, but
Wings. What are you talking about here, girl? Girl. What are you talking about? Audrina. Rest in peace, Audrina. Audrina who? Hold up. Time out. What? Wings, come back to me, Wings. Wings. Spencer. Audrina Spencer. Audrina Spencer. Wait, who is she again? Who's Audrina Spencer? Oh my God, help me, guys. Help me, guys. Audrina Spencer, she sounds very familiar to me. Let me see. I don't see nothing here on the news thing. I'm looking. Let me see.
Going on the back.
Oh, Audrina Spencer. Let me see.
Oh, right here on the side of me. Yo, I gotta jump by 3 niggas with pistols. Yeah, I got 2 of them, Savage. Yeah, I got 2 of them.
She didn't die.
The other niggas got assault rifles and I'm dropping them with the pistol.
Man, that's a lie, girl.
You know they
I can't with people sometimes. I don't know, because I just looked it up and I didn't see nothing about her being dead. From the vaccine? What? Okay, well. May she rest in peace.
But I'm no monster either. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. The investigative and prosecution team spend months conducting, but I'm no monster either, fortune, and will hold criminals accountable, regardless of their fame or fortune. Mr. Kelly once said, "I'm no angel, but I'm no monster either." I wholeheartedly disagree with that. The investigative and prosecution team spend months conducting hundreds of interviews, analyzing documentary and electronic evidence, all of which confirm the true depravity of Mr. Kelly. For years, Mr. Kelly believed that his power and fame could defy the justice system and allow him to continue his abuse. Today, a jury of Mr. Kelly's peers confirmed what these courageous victims have known for far too long. Mr. Kelly is a prolific serial predator. Despite numerous reports of his destructive abuse over the years, Mr. Kelly's brazen acts of intimidation against his accusers kept him shielded from prosecution. Mr. Kelly had the audacity to engage with his associates to bribe and threaten victims, their families, and witnesses, all in an effort to prevent the truth from being told. Make no mistakes, these actions by Mr. Kelly and his associates were not only designed to hide the truth, but to also keep and continue his destructive ways against the young and vulnerable. In their failed attempt to evade justice, Mr. Kelly and his associates made one critical error. They underestimated the resilience and courage of the victims who refused to be silenced. He believed that his fame would drown out the voices, that they would not be believed, and that his notoriety would deter tenacious investigators and prosecutors from taking up their cause. These victims overcame Mr. Kelly's abuse. They deserve to be recognized. Know this, we stand here today because of them. Without them, today would not have been accomplished. Today is their day. HSI and our partners at EDNY take a victim-centric approach to investigations, ensuring that we swiftly focus our efforts on those most impacted by the crime. With this in mind, I truly believe that in light of the great bravery of these victims and their advocates, it would be much more appropriate to call them survivors, as they refuse to remain victims. As we think about the survivors, I would like to take a few moments to speak publicly about the work HSI special agents and our partners performed on their behalf. A lot has been said about the relationship between law enforcement and the communities we serve. Today is a reminder of our profession's highest calling, to protect the public against oppressors. Today's verdict was not inevitable. It was only possible because these survivors placed their trust in law enforcement. They believed that agents and prosecutors would diligently seek out the truth and bring Mr. Kelly to justice. For that, you have my utmost respect and admiration. Today, we stand united with the survivors and our community with one simple goal in mind. Mr. Kelly and others like him will never again be in a position to abuse others. Together, we will continue this work to make certain that one day, days like today won't be necessary. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you very much, Peter, for saying that. They are not victims, they are survivors. We are all survivors. Thank you so much. Thank the jury for seeing what they needed to be seen.
Yeah, wow. That nigga knifed me. One knife and I went down.
I'm so happy. Give a round of applause to all those ladies who were courageous enough to stand up and say no more.
Right on that fucking low.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen. God knew what he was doing when he put him there. God is the reason why he is there. God was not going to let him go. He put him there for a reason. He gave him 2 chances. And he still decided to be a predator. Because that's what he is. And it's not allegedly. He is a predator. None of this is allegedly anymore. We can say that. He's guilty. And he has been charged. And he's going to sit and wait. And he's never coming home. Ever. And when they do the appeal, they're not going to let him out either. He's done. Chicago's coming up. Can't wait for that one. That's where all the real minors are. That's where all the minors are. They're in that indictment. Minor 1, minor 2, minor 3, minor 4, minor 5.
Get out of there.
Individuals A, B, C, and D. And Rashonda Landfair, I know you saw this baby girl, and I know you feel freedom, especially after you had this child, this man that you're with now.
He's right here.
Thank God you've moved on with your life as well. And I'm happy for you. Dominique, I'm happy for you. Azriel, I'm happy for you. Faith, Patrice, Tracy, Lanita, Lizette, Jojo, Tiffany, Aaliyah. I love yous all. I know I forgot some names. But all of you women who were strong enough to say enough is enough. Time's up, R. Kelly. He will no longer make music for anyone. He will no longer hurt anyone. He will no longer control anyone. Because where he's going to wind up being somebody's bitch. Okay? And he's going to get the same exact treatment that he did to all these women all these years. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. Fly high, baby girl. This is for you. Thank you so much to the prosecutors who did a great job.
How the fuck you get by that shit without it blowing up?
I'm so glad that these girls got justice. Because so many women go unnoticed, unheard, and don't get justice. They're scared to come out. It's time for that to change. And I think the law should be 18 all across the board, every damn state. Period. Sorry, guys. You know, I get a little emotional. This has been deep. You know,
Yeah, right.
It's been really deep. Yeah.
Yo, how many kills? How many kills? Come on. Ooh, my brother got a candle.
I don't know if we played this one.
You got 7
okay,
revives.
No. All right.
I got
That's what
6.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna continue our marathon. Oh boy.
It's all right. It's all right. Told you I got that one, right? That was mine. That was mine. I'm gonna pretend this round. Wow.
Savage, and thank you so much for joining. Right now, I want to bring in Gerald Griggs. He's a lawyer for the family of Jocelyn Savage, and thank you so much for joining us on this day. Of course, that many people have been waiting for. R. Kelly has faced allegations of sexually abusing minors since 1996.
That's nearly 2.5 decades. Were you surprised this case made it to trial? And what do you think about this verdict that we're hearing now about this racketeering charge?
No, we weren't surprised that the case made it to trial, and we are pleased with the outcome of at least the initial charge. We look forward to hearing the rest of the charges, but this is the process of bringing Mr. Kelly to justice. And so I've already been on the phone with many of my clients. Of course, They were in such nerves and such trepidation for this day, but I can hear them as we're speaking, talking about the relief that he's been found guilty of the racketeering charge. We're hopeful that the other charges, and we are anxious for the other cases against Mr. Kelly. This was a process of victims bringing forward evidence, the prosecution believing that evidence, and now the jury believing that evidence. So it took 20 years. It took numerous families, numerous victims, but their voice has been heard.
All right, so now that he's been found guilty, what do you think is the appropriate sentencing? How much time do you think he needs to serve?
He needs to serve the maximum amount of time. He's damaged so many lives. He's ruined so many families. If you only knew about the level of pressure that was on these families, on these victims from the very beginning, many people not wanting to believe them, many people victim shaming them. But now in a court of law, after hearing evidence, Mr. Kelly has been brought to justice. So they're seeking maximum time. I will continue to comfort them and aid them, and we will think about our next steps legally. But we are satisfied with the results of this and the job that the prosecution did.
So it doesn't matter that it's racketeering, because let's face it, all the experts have said this is a roundabout way. What he actually, people believe he actually did, is different from the true definition of racketeering. What are your thoughts on him being convicted of racketeering as opposed to the charges that he's been brought up all these years, which is, of course, accused of abusing these young women?
Well, it was a process of abusing the women through the use of his celebrity and the use of his enablers and the use of the people around him. So we think racketeering was the appropriate charge. And you have to remember, this is the first of 4 cases. So the other underlying charges, the more serious charges, will be addressed in the Northern District of Illinois. But he used his celebrity to entrap young women for the purpose of underage sex. And so we believe that it was the appropriate charge. And we listened to the experts, but the experts didn't know the evidence. We've known this evidence for 20 years. We've listened to witness after witness after witness. We've spoken to family after family. So with all due respect to the experts, the evidence spoke for itself, and now the jury is speaking.
And I do want to ask you why you think it took so long to get to this point. I mean, years and years have gone by. A lot of this information has been out there. It's been in the public. People have known about it. Why did it take this long? Why now, finally, there is a guilty verdict for R. Kelly?
It took brave family members, brave victims forward. It took the media to appropriately report this. It took lawyers to come to the forefront. But more importantly, it took the pressure of the public to see what was happening in broad daylight and to hold R. Kelly accountable for his crimes. So I'm ashamed that it took this long. But for many of those years, many of the lawyers that are working this case were not lawyers. And so we are now lawyers. We are fully grown. We brought that evidence to a court of law, to the prosecutors. And now we've seen a verdict that speaks the truth. We've seen a shift in the community's awareness about these issues and the ability to hold people accountable. So I think this is just the beginning. And I am hopeful that my clients are in the process of healing through this step of accountability for Mr. Kelly.
Will this help your clients heal?
I think so. Anytime that you are able to get justice, it's a process. And I think this is a process of justice. I think that they've been seeking this day for such a very long time. There's a lot of emotion involved, but ultimately their voices have been heard. So I believe that they're on the process of healing, and this first step in justice is very important.
And let's talk about their voices, because many people said, you know, these are young Black women and their voices are not heard, and they are not people who would be able to speak out and be believed by the masses. Do you see this as changing, that now these young Black women are going to change the way that trials move forward?
I think they've changed the attitude of prosecutors on what they can present and what they can get convictions on. And we're not so much interested in changing the greater society. We want to change the viewpoint of the individuals that are charged with upholding justice. That's the prosecutors, that's the judge, that's the jury. And so I think this conviction starts that process. We believe the victims from the very beginning. We had to start a process through which law enforcement believed them and law enforcement started to move.
So how much of him being a celebrity, being the big star that he is, R. Kelly, the famous R&B singer, how much of that impacted what happened in terms of, as you said, getting people to believe, the police to believe, the investigators? How much of that celebrity issue was a factor in everything that's happened here?
I think it was a big factor. I think that many people believed that he was untouchable, believed that he was Teflon. But at the end of the day, right is right and wrong is wrong. And when you bring the facts forward under a microscope and under the crucible of trial, that comes forward. This was not a trial in Cook County in state court. This is a trial in federal court. And they had thoroughly investigated this case. They had spoken to so many victims, so many witnesses, many of which testified, but some did not testify. There were 46 witnesses. So you have to understand that there was a pattern and practice happening here, and they proved it to a jury. So I think that the celebrity played a role in preventing that initially, but I think once the evidence started to roll, people started to understand he had to be held accountable.
The first and foremost thing is these victims. Obviously, that's what counts here, is these victims are getting justice. But I have to ask the question, there are still people who are R. Kelly fans. His music is still played. What should people be doing now that he is convicted and guilty? Do you expect radio stations to stop playing his music, for people to stop downloading his music? I mean, what's the bigger picture here in terms of R. Kelly, who was an icon musically, who has been accused for years of different issues, but now finally a guilty verdict? What's the bigger picture in terms of what people are responsible for in terms of whether or not to continue to promote his music?
Well, I mean, that's a personal decision for his fans, for the music industry. They have to deal with what they've enabled for so many generations. But I think with regard to the victims, I think people need to think about the individuals that they wanted to push to the side and say they weren't important. Those individuals' lives were important. And that's the message that this jury is sending. And so I think as a community, we have to embrace them. We have to make sure that their voice continues to be heard. And if that means that people have to make personal decisions, they have to make those personal decisions. I've made my decision. I'm not playing the music. The music spoke for itself. He told you in plain view what was happening. And so I think that people have to take a long, hard look in the mirror about what they want to accept and what they're not going to accept. But I think as far as the allegations that have now been proven against Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt, people need to take a very strong, hard look on how they're responding.
And what about the bigger picture as well in terms of Black celebrities? Let's face it, you know, the O.J. Simpson trial was huge. People said he got away with that because he had celebrity and money. You can't say that now with R. Kelly. And then, of course, there was the Bill Cosby trial where people said he was unfairly attacked and other people said he should have been put away for a long time. Where does R. Kelly fit in the whole discussion of Black celebrity and crime?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question as far as celebrity and crime. What I can answer is the question that this jury just answered. And with regard to Robert Sylvester Kelly, he's now been convicted. Bill Cosby's case, O.J. Simpson's case have nothing to do with what happened to Robert Sylvester Kelly. This is about listening to the voices of the victims and to center them. And so with regard to celebrity and fame and crime, this was about crimes that were perpetrated primarily against African Americans by an African American. This individual was held because of his crimes, separate and apart from his celebrity and anything else. So I think that that's what needs to be reinforced, and the voices of the victims should be centered.
And let's talk about the racketeering charge. Explain to us exactly what that is.
He's charged with running a criminal enterprise whose sole purpose was to elicit underage sex from young women. And so they allege and prove that he used his celebrity, his ability to tour, his ability to make music to lure individuals for the purpose of underage sex and fly them across state lines. They proved this by bringing in former members of his entourage, individuals that worked for him, and other people that testified to the process upon which he groomed and flew and procured these individuals. So the purpose of the racketeering was to attack the criminal organization. I know a lot of people have had discussion saying you can't be a criminal organization with only one person charged. Many of the others were unindicted co-conspirators. They may very well may be held accountable. There are other trials that will take place. So the purpose of the racketeering charge was to show the pattern of behavior for a long period of time and to hold him accountable for that pattern of behavior.
And I did want to ask you about the other people involved, because you heard so much of other people who were helping him or being told to do things for him. What happens to those people? Do the victims want to go after those people as well, or is it only about R. Kelly?
Well, at this point, all legal options are on the table. Our focus primarily was to get a conviction, in this case, to reunite a family with their daughter who still has not been reunited, and then to pursue any other legal options available. So all options are on the table. But at this point, we are focused on holding Mr. Kelly accountable, which was done earlier today. And then we will regroup and think about the next part of our legal strategy.
Verdict, but let's
Oh, you see, guys, Joy's still not home with her family at all. They still haven't been able to reach contact with her. Oh, God, Joy, go home. Please go home. Go home, go home, go home. You need to go home. You need to see your family. You need to reunite. You need to forgive. You need to forget. You need your support back. The people who really love you and care about you, and that's your family, girl. You need to go back to your family, mommy. You need to go back to your family. You need to go back. Even if you move out, but you need to get back to your family. I mean, you don't have to live with them. You're a grown woman. Do what you want. Get a job. Do your thing. Figure out what you want for your life, but go, mommy, go. Go, 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 go. Now is the time for you to go. All right, I got a little bit more, guys. Your girl Diva's in this video, guys.
I don't know if we're going to hear from the survivors, as the attorneys are now calling them themselves. A lot of them don't live in this area or have stayed for the deliberation processes. Maybe in the days to come, after they take all of this in, it's so much to go through, because also some of these victims, or survivors rather, were reluctant to be here because they were subpoenaed. But as the prosecution explained, they had been groomed to a point where they didn't even know that they were abused by the singer. Now, I do have Estelle Garcia still here with me. I know we only have a minute to talk, but you were saying that obviously all the victims, all the survivors matter, but there's one thing that always sticks out, and it's Aaliyah. And we were able to hear from the pastor who married Aaliyah and R. Kelly, really saying that she was 15 years old at the time. How do you feel to get justice for her as well?
I am more than happy. I knew that she was going to come from her grave. This was for her. She never spoke her story, and it was time for it to finally come out and be revealed.
Thank you, Estelle. We have to go to a break right now, but I appreciate you, and we're going to have much more here on BNC Go Live.
Hey guys, hello everyone once again who came in the building. What's up, the truth? Yes, Aaliyah can rest now. She sure can. She sure can.
Yo,
She can sleep in heavenly peace. Heavenly peace. I'm just so happy that they finally found him guilty, guys. We found him guilty.
I'm back.
Well, I got 2 more things to go. And then we could play a little bit of music and send R. Kelly's ass to jail. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
I love you guys. We were there for it, you know? We sure were not going to miss it. Yeah, they cut it. They did cut it short, mommy. I did say a lot more. I actually broke down and cried. That's how much I said.
Nigga came down the stairs.
Mhm.
Stopped.
I wanted Blade to record the whole thing, but she decided to go walking off down the block. I don't know. She took my phone and she went walking down the block. But it's so good. It's so good. I got a chance to say a little piece, you know? We were there. That's what was important. We were there. You know? You know, it's very traumatizing, everything. Everything is very, very traumatizing. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. She was on the move. Yeah, listen, I cried a lot. Me too. Me too. I cried a lot. I cried a lot. And this motherfucker keeps coming in my chat. This bitch. Ugh. Thank you, guys.
Don is a decoy. Thank you.
All right, girl. So you gonna party with us, Peter? All right, let's see. We got one more, guys. We got 2 more. We got 2 more little short clips to go.
Got him, Don.
And just to rub it in their faces. That's it. That's all. Rub it in. Rub it. Rub it. Rub it. Rub it in. That's what we're doing today. We are rubbing it in your face. In your face.
Yo, homie, right here, Don. Savage.
Let me go on mute.
Breaking news. There is a verdict in the case of R. Kelly. These are the federal charges against R. Kelly. Guilty on all counts. Julia Janae, who has been covering this trial live in Brooklyn, New York, share with us what has happened.
We received a note about 35 to 40 minutes ago saying that this jury had something regarding the verdict, and they did come into this courtroom and tell the rest of the courtroom and this defendant that he is guilty on all 9 counts against him. That includes the racketeering count against him that had 14 underlying offenses, where at least 2 had to be proven. That was proven to satisfy that count. And then all of the Mann Act violations, where he was accused and now convicted of enticement, coercion, and transportation of minors and of women across state lines for illegal sexual activity. Kelly in the courtroom completely stoic as those words were read by the jury foreman. He did not move. He was almost frozen in time as he listened to this long verdict reading here inside the courthouse in Brooklyn, New York. Ashley?
Julia, just like you mentioned, the 9 counts of racketeering. So the jury has found he engaged in illegal activity through a business or enterprise involving multiple Jane Does, some of whom have been named, who we know who they were when they testified. What was the response? That's a bad description. Did any of the jury members express, was there any noise from the jury as this was being read, or was it a quiet courtroom?
Very quiet courtroom. It looked different because some members of the public were allowed inside of courtroom at that moment. The sketch artist who has been basically only allowed to be in the overflow room during all of this was allowed for this moment to be inside. We saw, of course, that heavy marshal presence that we typically see when there is a verdict that is coming. And you can hear outside now the supporters that are here waiting outside the courtroom now, learning that all guilty count as far as the verdict in this case and reacting to that. So that was the mood inside of the courtroom. I only noticed one female juror who glanced over at R. Kelly as he sat at that defense table. But other than that, each of these jurors filed in, sat in their seats, and that jury foreman, number one in New York, it's whoever is number one in that seat becomes the foreman. They don't vote on it. He read it into the record each time saying, "Guilty, Your Honor, guilty, Your Honor," going through, like I mentioned, 14 offenses under that count one of racketeering, and then the 8 other Mann Act violations here in federal court.
And Julia, this was day 2 of deliberations, and I believe the jury only deliberated for 8+ hours before rendering this verdict.
We're calculating it at about 9 hours because they went for about 4 hours on Friday, and then today they started at 9:30, and around 2:30 was when we started to get word that a verdict had been reached. So we don't know exactly when they started, but that would be close to 9 hours that they deliberated over this. And only one note today where they wanted to know more about Jane Doe number 3, wanted to get specific about that statute. And one thing that was difficult for us in the overflow room, this jury foreman didn't have a microphone for the first part of him saying what the verdict was and what the counts were as far as the proven or not proven parts of that racketeering charge. So everyone was rushing to the front of the overflow room trying to hear what was actually being said. But just looking at this defendant, you could tell he was hearing everything that was going on in the courtroom. I can't overstate how still he became and how apparent that was, because his attorneys were looking down, they were writing, something we've seen from Kelly during this entire trial. But in this moment, he was staring almost into space, not at anything in particular, it seemed, as all of those guilties were said on the record.
This is a significant outcome, Julia. I don't think that can be underscored enough, because this is alleged conduct. Well, now he's been found guilty. So this is conduct over a 30-year period, a very long period of time. Multiple witnesses, multiple instances, testimony, very graphic, hard to listen to about the things that he did to women, men, children. It's a staggering verdict, really, for all of these victims, in a good way, that hopefully they can find some peace or justice, if possible, after going through these things. Let's talk about first the overflow room. Julia, was there any response from the people in the overflow room, any yelling or anything once the verdicts were read?
You could hear some gasps from the back of the courtroom, but the main thing was trying to hear exactly what was said. Everyone knew to be as quiet as possible because we wanted to hear this jury foreman. About halfway through, he was given a microphone so we could hear him much more clearly, very strongly reading the "guilty, Your Honor, guilty, Your Honor," after Judge Donnelly would ask him, "What is your verdict? Is it guilty or not guilty?" We could not tell whether or not there may have been one of those racketeering offenses that may have been not proven. That was during the time that we weren't able to hear. We're working on confirming that. It seemed that there was something different said during Jane Doe number 3, Sonia, the one who was allegedly kidnapped. That was what he was accused of in this indictment. And that's what it seemed jurors were struggling over, because many of their notes and the questions that they asked this court had to do with Jane Doe number 3. But to your point, this case has been a mountain of allegations when it comes to what the federal prosecutors brought against Kelly. They went all the way back to 1994 through 2018 to bring in different Jane Does who reportedly, through their testimony, suffered abuse, suffered coercion, enticement, were used for the defendant's own sexual gain. All of that being told to this jury. And I'll tell you, one of the things I was doing right before we learned that there was a verdict, we were finally listening to some of those recordings that were played for the jury, but not to the public, really because of the graphic nature of them. And it was so disturbing to be finally able to listen to them. We as journalists were in a room and those recordings were being played, where you could hear someone crying, saying that she was being hit, calling herself names, and a male voice telling her to keep saying it, keep calling yourself these degrading words. These are the recordings that this jury heard. And when you think about what that sounded like, what it must have been like for them to have to hear some of this really jarring evidence, and then to go into a deliberation room and determine if these facts match the law, they've determined that they do, and they equal guilty on all counts.
For generations, we've watched
Good. I know we have some full screens about the different guilty verdicts. I want to look at those and then talk to you about something we talked about a little bit earlier, Julia. I know that we've seen the coercion, the count, and see if there are any other counts that we can bring up to go through. We have guilty on count 2, and that's the transportation offense related to Jane Doe number 5, and she went by Jane. Again, anonymous, these victims, many of them are. Let's see, we also have, if there are any others that we have ready to go through, count 3, the guilty of the Mann Act, coercion and enticement. And this is related to Jane Doe number 5, again, known as Jane when she testified. On count 4, guilty of the Mann Act, coercion of a minor related to Jane Doe number 5, again, that went by Jane when she testified. And now we also have count 5, guilty on transportation of a minor is related to Jane Doe number 5. So just a reminder to all of our viewers, as we look at these charges that he's been found guilty of, the jury had to go through each one of these charges, each victim. So on this one, the guilty of the Mann Act transportation, I want the viewers to note, this was a 2017 reckless exposure to herpes is related to Jane Doe number 6, who went by Faith in her testimony. And that was one you have to listen about the fact that someone was exposed to a sexually transmitted disease. He's been found guilty of that. So a number of, you said it so well, all of the counts, guilty on all counts. Now, Julia, let's talk about two different things. One is the different states in which different offenses occurred and how this works. And the second is what sentence he might face. So the first we want to talk about is the location of the incidents. You and I have talked about this some. New York, Illinois, California, Connecticut. And the jury in this federal trial here in New York had to look at some of the state laws for Illinois. Flesh out a little bit for us how this worked.
Because this is a federal case, you hear a lot about interstate commerce and whether or not someone was using something that can be used to go across state lines in committing a crime. That's a lot of times what gets things into federal court. And you had this racketeering offense. Under that, 14 underlying offenses where you have the Jane Does whose allegations date from 1994 to 2018, but many of them that did not relate to New York were within that racketeering case. Then outside of the racketeering, the counts 2 through 9 that you've just listed, those are the ones that relate to people who were in New York with the defendant and alleged, now convicted, he is now found guilty of abusing them and recklessly endangering them by exposing them to a venereal disease in violation of New York public health law. So that was one of the main cruxes of this case being here in New York, because allegedly when he was here at a New York residence, he had Jane Doe number 5 here and Jane Doe number 6. So that's why this case here in New York going first, not necessarily why it's going first, but why it is a New York case. And then you have the other allegations that involved California Penal Code, the Illinois Criminal Code. These jurors had to go over that. They even asked for more clarification on the Illinois Criminal Code, because though it didn't relate to one of those Mann Act violations that were part of the counts in the indictment, it did have to do with what the prosecution and they did that.
And Julie, I'm going to intercede only because we're having a hard time with the audio. I think it's because it's so windy there and there's so much going on around the courthouse. So thank you for joining us. Guilty on all counts. Again, Julia Jenae will continue to join us to bring us the latest updates. I did want to share that R. Kelly faces a potential life sentence of life in prison. I want to bring in now Titus Nichols, who is a criminal defense attorney, a former prosecutor, a law professor at UGA. Titus, this is a huge verdict. What are your initial thoughts?
This is absolutely huge because of the fact that this has gained so much publicity. And yes, when they were picking the jurors, many of them said they would not allow it to affect the decision, but we're human. And they recognize that they were deciding the fate of R. Kelly, a very famous individual. The fact that they came back on every single count of guilty means that they listened to the evidence presented by the government. They listened to the defendant's arguments, but they were not persuaded. They truly believed that he had sexually assaulted and transported all of these victims for an illegal purpose.
And let me tell you, one of the questions that we know the jury came back with, it was the third question that the jury asked, Titus, and it was in one of the statutes that they had to apply. They wanted to know what it meant and/or. And so the judge, as I understand it, did some research, talked to the attorneys to figure out what the proper response to that was. And everybody agreed the proper response was to tell the jury that that and/or was to be treated as or. The point I'm making is that this jury is paying attention for a jury to come back and say, we have some confusion over the way it reads the law that we have to apply to the facts as we found them. Again, I completely agree with you. It means that they have put the time and the energy in to make a clear determination guilty on all counts based on everything that was presented. And there was a lot presented, a lot of testimony directly from the victims connecting all of this to R. Kelly. Testimony from managers who worked for R. Kelly to say this is the way we operated and what was allowed and what wasn't allowed, and individuals being in rooms and not allowed to leave the room. And I think that part of what this points to is that the government took a lot of time and effort to really paint the entire picture to prove this to the jury.
Absolutely. And you also have the fact that the government did not want to have a rehash of what happened in R. Kelly's original trial that took place. Even though it was different jurisdiction, it was state level prosecutors, but that had just an entire list of things that went wrong that hampered the prosecution. Here, the federal government understood they had their opportunity to hold R. Kelly accountable for his crimes against these young women, and they made sure to bring more than just enough evidence, but more than enough evidence for this jury to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to note is just some of the details, again, that went into, and you know, the defense, I think, let's talk about the defense, Titus. What's your reaction to the defense and the defense that was put up for R. Kelly? We know he didn't testify. He chose not to take the stand. Do you think that was a mistake?
It's possible. Considering the fact that R. Kelly is a celebrity, there was the likelihood the jury wanted to hear from him his explanation. They wanted to understand, why do you think all these girls are painting you out to be a monster? What is your side of the story? Who are you? How do you explain all these situations where these girls were transported over here? Did they come based upon their own free will? Were they able to leave on their own? Did you take steps to stop them? But by him exercising his constitutional right to remain silent, the jury never got to hear that part of the story. They had to hear it through his attorneys or through the witnesses that they presented. And unfortunately, that's not always the most persuasive tactic in a trial.
Right. Absolutely. We have so much to cover on this. Julia Jenae has some great information for us out of Brooklyn. While she gets arranged there, we are going to take a quick
girls, you think you're cute, and now you locked up. Oh, and he's locked up. They won't let him out. Lean into that script. They won't let him out. Oh no. Ow. Hold on. We got another one, y'all.
Fuck legit.
Like a ain't going nowhere. Stay right there. AC/DC, guys, Highway to Hell. It was a special request. I'm gonna end this live, guys. I love you. God bless you. Amen. Thank God. Your boy Rico Kelly. That's his name, Rico Kelly. He is officially a Rico Kelly. So I'm glad I was there for the experience. I'm glad I was there to put my boots on the ground with my sister Blade, and we were able to bring it to you guys, and we were able to be there for you guys and show these women our love, and that we were there. We were there. R. Kelly was found guilty, guilty, guilty. All 9 counts. One racketeering, 8-man act. Done. And all 14 counts under the Racketeering Act. Yep. Done. I love you too, guys. Don't forget, guys, please hit that like button on the way out. Yes, guilty. R. Kelly was found guilty. His sentencing is May 4th, 2022 at 10 a.m. His lawyers get a chance to put in motions. They have until November 21st to put it in. And then the government to respond by the 22nd of November. And all parties involved have to have a reply no later than December 6th. Okay? Next trial is supposed to start October 13th, and that's for Chicago federal trial, but that might change. So we'll be waiting to hear about that soon. All right, guys. I love y'all. Peace. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys. Don't forget to give your girls the little bubblies, the hearts, the likes, the thumbs, and leave your comment below. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, please make sure you hit subscribe. You hit the notification, the little bell. You touch it. You look at the option. It'll give you an option to say all. Don't leave it on personalized. Leave it on all. If you click the all, you will get all my videos. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are like, oh, notifications. It's probably because you have it on personalized. You got to go back to the subscription bell, hit that little bell, and then hit the all option. And you'll get all my live streams as they come, whether they're video uploaded or live stream. All right, guys. I love yous. Peace.